Hi, welcome to Money Matters TV. I'm Patty Tawadros. I'm going to be your host today, and I'm joined today by Dave Emery from Marshall Financial Group. And a little bit later, we're going to meet our guest, Jeff Fuller from Jeffrey Fuller Fine Art Ltd. We're going to talk about art today. So we'll start with money, which is what this show's about.
Good to see you again, Patty.
Good to see you. So tell me about your business. Who are your clients?
Okay. Well, I'm a financial planner, and the big group of people that I help are people that are between the ages of 40 and 60, adults that are struggling with financial issues such as how you're going to pay for college, helping aging parents with regards to their finances, how will I ever retire. And we help them sort through all those different issues. We're more of a financial consultant or financial think partner to help through those different family events.
So are these longtime clients that suddenly come to you with issues of paying for college?
That's a great question. It's typically people come in during a life-changing event such as that, but kind of as we start working together, we help them with a number of different aspects of their financial life. Actually, retirement is one of the big issues right now. College really is a retirement issue.
Is it ever? When is it it's never too late to start, is it?
That's right. The earlier you can start, the better. Planning for either for college or for different events. Regarding college, it's become so expensive that I say college is a retirement problem, because once you get done paying for college, right behind that is retirement, and the more you can do with regards to reducing the cost of college, that helps you further along toward helping to plan for your retirement.
So you tell people their kids need to have golf lessons and tennis lessons.
Yeah, well, that's one avenue through different, qualifying for different merit aid is basically what that is, and helping people understand that what colleges are looking for, and colleges will pay money to attract what they're looking for. So
I know when my brother and I went to college, we didn't get any scholarships because my parents didn't know, and we didn't understand that you could apply for free money.
Right.
And that's a big deal.
It is a huge deal.
Yeah, so they paid cash.
Yeah.
And we're really lucky because we both graduated with no debt.
No debt, that's wonderful.
But,
that's not the norm today.
Yeah.
Well,
now school is, what is it on average for 4 years?
Shoot, it can be as expensive. Some of the local state schools are around $30,000, like Penn State.
Per year, 30.
Main campus. And some of the private schools go anywhere from $45,000 to $65,000 a year.
I think when I was in school, state school was like $7,000.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's so tell me a little bit about your business.
So it's 15 years old.
That's wonderful.
This year, yeah, it's hard to believe. And we have a retirement account, thank God, but it took a while to get there. As an entrepreneur, it's not a focus. You're always trying to put money back into the business and not get retirement for your employees, until I realized it was also a tax benefit to have a retirement account. But in being in the business for this long, I realized it made sense to shift our model, because we went from the regular consulting model of, I need a client, so you go out and you look for a client and you sell them, then you deliver their job, and 2/3 of the way through, you realize that your pipeline is...
You need to keep refilling it.
Yeah, so then you're trying to get a new job so that you keep the cash flow coming, and I realized if we shifted to a different model, and that being a subscription base for a website, that we would have a constant cash flow.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so that's the change we made this year, and now we take a smaller upfront cost and a monthly fee. People sign a contract, and it helps them. They don't blow their whole marketing budget in one go.
Plan.
Yeah, and we can plan.
Right.
Which is a big deal.
That helps definitely, I'm sure, to even out the cash flow, and also, so do your clients have access then, with a subscription? Does that mean you have constant access to clients?
Yes.
They have access to you, I mean?
Yes, well, they can buy packages, so they can buy just their website, or they can buy 4 to 8 hours minimum for consulting to upgrade their website, to make edits. As much as our websites allow you to edit it, not a lot of people want to bother with it. They just want to shoot us an email with some changes.
Right.
So it's,
kind of hire the experts, and that's similar to what we do with regards to retirement income planning. There's a lot of that's become a very hot issue. A lot of people want to know do they have enough money? Will it be enough money? And when can they retire? 'Cause once they leave the workforce, coming back in at the level, the salary level they left, can oftentimes be very, very challenging.
I think, is it too late for me to get a job with a pension with the government? Can I be a postal worker?
I know.
But
I mean,
that's not guaranteed either.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. A lot of those pension plans are definitely changing. Certainly in the private sector, those pensions are going away. And I think even in the state sector, with regards to how the state budgets are, I mean, I think they're still there, but I would anticipate, my own personal feeling is moving forward, that's going to change too.
I know my exit strategy is to sell my company. So
I know, and that's
what we're working on.
Absolutely, that's a lot with business owners. That's a lot of times their retirement plan.
That, and my joke is I want to die when I run out of money. So sometime in 3 years.
If you can, as a financial consultant, if you can tell me exactly when you're going to pass, I can do a wonderful job planning for you.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
This is from Gail Robinson in Ardmore. Mm-hmm. She asks, what is the difference between a Roth IRA and a 401k plan?
Okay. Well, two different vehicles. A Roth IRA, the way that works is contributions are made with after-tax dollars. So you've already paid tax on those dollars, so you do not get a tax deduction. It goes into an account called a Roth IRA. Those contributions, as they grow, after you retire, when you take them out, it comes out tax-free. So that's the one benefit with a Roth IRA is you don't get a tax deduction on the front end, but coming out when the account has grown, hopefully a lot more than what it initially was, then it comes out tax-free. A 401k is a little different in the contributions are before tax dollars, so you get basically a tax deduction. They're offered through companies. 401k is offered through companies. So typically, or a lot of times, companies will match contributions, meaning if you put some money in, the company will also put some money into the account also. When you go and take the money out, it's taxable though. So those are the two big, it's more of a tax issue of anything between those two different entities.
And do people tend to have, or is it smart to have one of each?
I like to see a number of different pots of money, if you will, because when you come into retirement, then you can plan on what's the most tax efficient strategy on providing for income, whether it comes out of the taxable 401k account or whether it comes out of a tax-free Roth IRA account. And then you look at your other incomes and your tax burden, and you can kind of plan ways to minimize your taxes.
Good.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says, Send us your questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, MONEY, -matters, MATTERS, TV.com.
Welcome back. I'm super excited that we're going to be joined by Jeffrey Fuller from Jeffrey Fuller Fine Art Ltd, and we get to talk about art instead of money, or how money and art are related, right?
Exactly.
So nice to meet you.
Well, nice to meet you, and thank you very much for having me today.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
It's good. So I know you sent us a few questions, but I'm most interested in the global art market. It's no longer just your local artists.
It really is no longer your local artists. It's interesting, when I got involved in this business back in the early 1970s, I worked for a gallery that sold great works of art, and we sold it to great collectors. Many of those works are now in museums. Never once did I ever hear the word investment by anybody, and yet they were buying works of art in the six figures, which back then was an enormous amount of money, because there were only very few works of art in the world that would have ever traded for more than $1 million. This is back in the 1970s. Today it's very different. The art market has truly become global. It's seen as an asset class by some people, especially when you have diversified portfolios. And there are a large group of people who cater to this. The most widely accepted art market report is published annually. It's published in March. It's put together by Arts Economics, a Dublin-based art research group run by Dr. Claire McAndrews. And it is referred to as the European Fine Art Foundation's Art Market Report. And it's published in March because that's when they hold their annual art fair in Maastricht, the Netherlands, which is the oldest and probably the greatest art fair in the world. This last report noted that the total sales last year of fine art and collectibles reached $63 billion, wow, which was a small decrease over the year 2014, which reached more than $68 billion. Now, this is all, of course, translated into American dollars, which is amazing when you think 63 billion, that's 63,000 million dollars. That's a lot of art. And here, when you think about, what is art? Oh, it's nothing. You see it at the museums. It's become an amazing business. What's interesting is that the United States this last year, has finally taken sole hold of the number one greatest, more sales in value happening now in the United States than anywhere else in the world. China declined because their market has declined because of their real problems. They had problems. The Shanghai stock market closed several times. Xi Jinping, president of China, has disallowed or forbidden art to be given away as gifts for bribes. And so that's taken a real hit in the market. Anyway.
Well, let me ask you, what is an average painting? Sorry to interrupt you. When you talk about 63 billion.
Okay, so 90% of all the sales were sales of works of art under $50,000. But that only took up or included 12% of the art market. The greatest majority of the sales, as far as value is concerned, over $1 million. And the top 10% sales are in the values of 1/100th of 1%. In other words, works of art that are selling for more than $10 million now are many. And you think about that, and this is in the year, we're in the mid-teens right now. We're in the second decade of the 21st century. And so when you have paintings like the Picasso, the 1955 oil that sold for $179 million at public auction, the Modigliani painting that also sold last year for $170 million at auction, it doesn't take very many of these types of transactions to all of a sudden amount to billions of dollars.
Wow. So what has happened with the art market over the last handful of years? Has art? It sounds like art has appreciated. Is that just the very high end art, or is that pretty much art in general?
One of the hats I wear, I've been an art appraiser, a senior member of the American Society of Appraisers since 1984. So over the past 30 years, I've been appraising art for just about every reason under the sun. I recently completed a fair market value report in a divorce action. And what was interesting about this, the couple, the two individuals, were art collectors. And yet one, when they came into the marriage in the late 1980s, brought with them a fairly sizable art collection. And then they continued to collect up until they parted ways. So they asked me to do the appraisal of the entire collection as of the date they parted, and also of the collection that was brought in into this union, so to speak, in the late 1980s as of that date.
Yeah, I do divorce work, so I understand exactly what they're looking for.
So what's interesting is, as far as prints, some of the prints were worth more in the late 1980s than they were
Today.
in the year 2015.
Wow.
And what happened in 1989, we had this, it was unbelievable. It was like the go-go years in the between 85 to 89, where every 6 months the art market was going up by 25%. It was just crazy. Things escalated so greatly. And then what happened, the Japanese hit a kind of like a block, and all of a sudden they stopped buying, and the whole market fell apart because it was based on the Japanese.
Right.
And the early 90s were very difficult, and you saw the auction houses continue to lower their estimates to finally catch up to where the market
Right.
had fallen. What's interesting with the print market, contemporary print market for the most part, in many cases it's never reached that, or maybe it has in certain, of course Picasso prints have, but that's not the average
Right.
print.
Let me ask you, not on the print market, but if we go back to a painting like the Modigliani or a Picasso that sells now, how do these things end up on the market?
So, they always say the D's, the 3 D's, death, debt, divorce. So what's interesting is that, with death, oftentimes if financial plans weren't
Right.
made, insurance
Right.
or whatever, so that the heirs could pay the capital gains due on
Right.
those
Exactly.
paintings because of estate death taxes, the heirs are forced to sell works, even though sometimes they don't want to, only to pay taxes. If somebody has debt, they look at their assets. Might be easier to take that painting hanging in the living room and sell it and pay the debt,
Right.
because they've owned the painting for 10, 20 years and they bought it wisely and it's appreciated in value. By the way, I've always said that less than 1% of art appreciates in value. I think more than 99% of all the art that's ever purchased depreciates like the couch over which it hangs. Well, we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
We read about the 1%, and that's what's great.
Exactly.
So, and divorce, we just mentioned that.
Right.
So in divorce, sometimes, the assets are divided, and especially if one of the party, one of the couple were the collectors, the other one wasn't, it becomes a monetary tool.
So in an appraisal, is it based on? I guess it's based on the market, and if you wanted to sell, do you also sell art too?
Yeah, I've been an art dealer since 1974.
Okay, so yes,
Back in the 1980s, when we did have a Philadelphia Art Dealers Association, I was a member and actually was a president of that organization. It no longer exists.
Through some of those divorces, then, if you appraise a painting for whatever, and the divorce needs to have it liquidated into cash, that's something that you would be able to help with, or how does that work? I don't know how.
Well, as an appraiser, my only monetary interest in what's being appraised is payment for my services rendered.
I see.
I don't double dip or whatever you call it.
Yep.
I don't do this if they want it, or they can hire. I can advise them
Where
to
to
go
to
here.
sell it?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Go.
Okay.
So I don't do that. However, I have appraised collections for insurance. I have had calls decades later from the children. One of the children, now much older. Oh, you appraised my parents' collection back in 1980, whatever. They're both gone, and I always say, I'm sorry to hear that, because oftentimes I'll remember the clients. Now we want to liquidate it.
Yeah.
What should we do?
Right.
And remind me what it was, and I'll give them ideas. Some things are better sold privately, other things are better sold at auction. It all depends upon the market. Actually, it depends upon the object.
Right. How about the online market? How's that?
Yeah.
So online, it's interesting. These phones that we all kind of like are glued to,
Right.
according to a report I heard on the radio coming down, 4.5 hours a day. I try not to do that. We now can buy things at auction with our telephone. Could you imagine? So what's interesting is that year after year after year, online sales have increased by 7%, to now where online sales amount to 7% of the entire art market.
How do you know if you're getting a legitimate painting?
Well, you buy,
Yeah.
okay, so now what you're doing is you buy from somebody reputable. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
Buy from somebody reputable.
Right.
If you're interested in something, I always say, if you're interested in anything that's art related, I've always said this to people, join the museum in the city in which you live that has that art. Give them the most money you can afford every year. Just to that level. At least if you join them, you're going to get a brochure every month.
Right.
And you'll be aware of exhibitions and lectures. You give them more money, you'll be invited to things, you'll
Right.
get the curators here, you give them more money, the head of the institution will call you.
Right.
But what happens, just like anything, you begin to understand. You can ask the curator, oh, I'm interested in that, where do I go? The curator will tell you where to go.
Right.
You come with me, I'm going to an art fair, I'll introduce you to some art dealers. Or, and then after a while, just like anything in life, you become somewhat of it becomes a hobby.
Right.
And some of my best clients, I've learned from some of my best clients who've made this hobby their life. And they know this one particular part of the art market better than most people I'll ever meet in my life.
So I want to ask one more question. So you get called in to appraise art, really important to praise art. So have you ever gone into someone's collection and discovered that they have a replica and they think it's an original?
So I had very good clients and very well-known art collectors. I mean, with a collection museum quality, a lot of the works could be in museums. And he bought a collection from somebody and he asked me to come and look at it. And these were all bronze sculptures, modern 20th century American and European bronze sculptures. And I looked at the collection and I looked at him and I asked him for specifics. Where did this come from? He said it was from somebody who needed money. I said, who were they? And he didn't give me the name, but he told me. And I said, I'm really sorry to say, nothing in it is right. I said, I can't appraise anything.
Yeah.
I said, my suggestion is to get your money back.
Right.
And he said, no. And of course it was embarrassing,
Sure.
but I think he realized what he had done. I don't think he ever went back to that person because he realized that the person probably knew
Right.
what they were selling him was.
Wasn't
So, but I mean,
How much do you think he spent?
Oh, he spent a lot of money. But this man was worth so much money that even a lot of money
Didn't
I
mean
think
much.
no. But as far as I went 2 weeks ago. I was in Berlin at a conference on artists' estates, and I got there only because I've been a member of this Catalogue Raisonné Scholars Association for years. And the Catalogue Raisonné is the compilation of all the works, known works that exist in the world by an individual artist, generally sorted by medium. And the questions about, is it right or not? In this country, because we are so litigious, for example, the Andy Warhol Foundation no longer authenticates works of art. Why? Lawsuits.
Yeah.
The Jackson Pollock Lee Krasner Foundation no longer authenticates works by Jackson Pollock. Why? Litigation. Cost of litigation is so high, whereas you have these protections in Europe. It's very different in Europe.
So there's this
Interesting.
X-ray, this machine that you can put paintings in and see below a layer of paint.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Is that new or old? I just read about it.
Well, technology is increasing. I just talked to somebody this morning. who called me about what they believed to be a painting by Thomas Eakins. Now, not anything like the Gross Clinic that our Philadelphia Museum of Art and the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts purchased for $78 million from Thomas Jefferson University several years back to keep that painting here.
Right.
But nevertheless, with the provenance, the history of the ownership, it could very well be by Thomas Eakins. I told them who to talk to at the museum because it sounded like it could very well be the real deal. Now, I told her, I said, if it's inconclusive, give it to your grandchildren and tell your grandchildren to give it to their grandchildren because by that time, everyone on this world will be dead. Technology will be so much greater that we can't even imagine, and probably they'll be able to, with a machine, determine whether it's by the artist or not.
Yeah. So
That's amazing.
it is.
Is there a certain kind of art that's more popular now? A sector of art?
Contemporary art. I mean, that's where the money is going.
Right.
And to me, it's always been a little bit mind-boggling. But maybe that's contemporary art. It's a little bit riskier.
Right.
So it's actually much riskier. Think about this. Contemporary art, you're buying art generally for relatively, at the very beginning, little money that could end up being worth a fortune. There was a guy by the name of Robert Scull who owned the taxi cab company back in New York City, I think in the 60s. He bought warehouses full of art. Robert and Ethel Scull. Some of the work that they bought became worth a lot of money. I mean, I gave Andy Warhol a one-man show in 1977.
You gave him a one-man show?
At the gallery for which I worked. I was the director in Chicago. In 1977, we had paintings $5,000 to $50,000. The painting, I saw the painting that we reproduced on the poster that we sent out to our mailing list at an art fair 2 years ago. And I looked at the painting and I said to the girl, it was at an art fair and it was right behind, it was like the major painting in their booth. And I said, oh, tell me about that painting. And I said, could you tell me where it's been? And she went back in the room and she pulled out the exhibition history and I said, when you take the painting off, in the upper right-hand corner, in pencil, will be an inventory number that I wrote. I said, I reproduced that painting.
Wow.
I said, what are you asking for? She said, $16.5. I'm like, well, she meant $16.5 million. I said, well, if you bought it from me in the show in 1977, you could have bought it for $50,000, and if you paid within 30 days, I would have given you a 10% discount. Her jaw dropped.
That's something else.
But she wasn't born in 1977, so
right.
It's ancient history.
What does she know?
Yeah.
What do any of us know? I don't know. It's easy to look at the past. It's very difficult to predict the future.
That's right.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This was a very nice departure from regular money conversations, at least for me.
That's right. Absolutely very interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
So we hope you'll join us next time. Our guest is going to be Ed Wallace from Relational Capital Group. Thank you so much.